Hello and welcome. My name is Marley Finnegan. I'm the founder of Purpose Net Zero. I am a nearly 20-year event industry veteran. I have been in the sustainability space and frankly obsessed with all things sustainable hospitality and sustainable events for the last 5 years, taking over 200 hours worth of certifications. I'm actually launching my own accreditation, the Purpose Sustainable Event Strategy Accreditation, in March of 2024. So very exciting things happening where it breaks down really everything that event professionals need to know around sustainability, what are event emissions, how to actively solve and around the measurement, mitigation, and management of event-related emissions. So it's really exciting. But Purpose Net Zero was created to tackle the one largest event emissions impact that there is, event-related attendee travel. So this is created to measure group travel. It is a travel calculator. It was created with the EPA and EU open database emissions calculation suggestions. And it basically takes people from their origin location, so their house, their place of employment, their work, what have you, to the endpoint location, which is the venue, the hotel, or the location in which we plot. So I'm going to walk you through the solution briefly. It's designed for event pros. It's designed to be as simple and user-friendly as possible. So we're going to start first by showcasing this is how we set the price per metric ton of carbon. So without getting too far in the weeds, carbon, for example, when I take a flight from Chicago to San Diego, that round trip flight is 1 metric ton of carbon, for context. So when we assign carbon a dollar amount, that's what Purpose Net Zero allows you to do. A carbon offset usually begins around $15 per metric ton, whereas like a carbon removal, which is a different type of carbon project in the world, its intention is to neutralize 1 metric ton to 1 metric ton. These usually are much more expensive. You can see carbon removals for $700 per metric ton, $500 per metric ton. And the lowest I've ever seen is around like $47 or $50. So for carbon offsets, usually a lot of corporations have a dollar amount that they've assigned to their projects and what they're going to fund. So when we enter a new client, this is what it looks like on our back end. We're going to put XYZ business name, XYZ subdomain. We can add your logo. And then we add a portal admin. We'll basically invite various users to the portal to be able to access it and navigate it. We put the cost of CO2 metric ton emissions here. So as I've recommended for carbon offsets, we usually recommend you start at $15 per metric ton. The transaction fee here is just meant to mirror any type of service fee that your event registration company has. Purpose Net Zero integrates with your event registration process. So the way that we calculate is by very simply asking attendees simple questions, either around their zip code, the city of origin they're coming from, or their full street address. We'll walk through some different various things there. The transaction fee only exists so that, say that your event registration company charges a 3.25% service fee. We would match this here so as not to cheat the cost of carbon. Okay. I'm going to show you how you add an event. So adding a new event is extremely simple. We can add the logo here. Otherwise, this shifts through different colors of the rainbow so that it delineates different events differently. The event name, convention center, the date range. The address here is extremely important. This is where we're calculating to. If we were in the United States, this is the endpoint location that we're calculating the emissions to. So you can put your venue, you can put your hotel, wherever the hub is that most people are going to be. And then down here, this is how we calculate the percentage of attendees that have already registered. So say we have 200 people, we have 50 exhibitors, we have 30 staff. Here's where we allow individuals to cover their carbon costs. So we have a few integrations. We have an integration with Cvent and an integration with Swoogo currently. With Swoogo's integration, if you check this box, we actually can talk back to the individual while they're registering and say, hey, Marley, your carbon footprint to go to North Carolina is going to be $7.65. Do you want to add this total to your registration fee? So I could add that on and I could pay for my own carbon offset. That money would go to the event hosts or to that total registration pot. And then that event host is obviously responsible for funding that towards carbon offsetting or whatever their plans are to do to make a positive environmental impact. Which is not something that Purpose Net Zero gets into. We help sort of as a carbon concierge. I do not believe in marking up the cost of carbon or getting in the way of that because ethically that's not what I'm about. So here then we have role management. This is where we create new roles for people. You'll see the different types of people we allow. Basically, a super admin is what I am. We can do everything on all tenants, tenant admin, and then the user are the main roles that are necessary for individual clients. Okay, so I am going to showcase a specific tenant so that you can see something that we did basically this client had a 2,000 person event that they wanted to understand what is the best place to have this event given the emissions, the overall emissions. So you'll see here that given all these locations, these various locations, Denver was the lowest emissions spot, which makes sense given the fact that it's sort of central to the nation. And I believe this is like a Canadian and US focused group. But it's really beautiful to know because when you're bringing 2,000 people, that emissions number can vary quite a lot. So these people actually use this prior to the event even happening to make their most basically emissions data informed decision, which is a beautiful way to think of this. Next, we're going to do, next we are going to look at, sorry, we're going to go back to, I'm having a little issue with my screen at the moment. Let me get this Zoom thing out of the way. So I am going to need to go, sorry, I'm going to pause this. Okay, now we're going to showcase another client event that used they did not use a registration integration with Cvent or Swoogo. They used our spreadsheet input, which is a simple way to do it without having the registration integrated. So we're going to go down to this client and go to their client event. So this is an event that I actually attended. It's the Green Sports Alliance. It's a beautiful event. It was held in Seattle, Washington. So we had 534 attendees, all 534 registered. We did their price per metric ton of carbon at $15 per metric ton. They had 200, or I'm sorry, actually, that's not true. This was at a $10 per metric ton price point, which is frankly probably too low for a carbon offset. They usually begin around $12 per metric ton, but I don't believe this was a funded carbon offset project anyway. So 276 tons of metric tons of carbon. And CO2 equivalent includes all gases. So it's not just carbon, it is all gases. And when there's flights, frankly, there's a number of different gases, including like nitrous oxide and others at play due to the fuel that is burned and the way that planes essentially fly through the air. Not that important, but basically we're calculating the CO2 equivalent, including other gases. So then at $10 per metric ton, that would have been 2,700 to offset this event. I usually suggest that we start at $15 per metric ton. So even, doing this point times 0.5 again, it would have been less than, $4,000 to offset this group travel. So a lot of times people that think that it's going to be extremely expensive to offset group travel, and it honestly can be pretty approachable. So I'm going to go ahead and show you another group, another couple groups. And so this group this is an event that happened in Dubai. They thought they would have 175 people. They wound up having 204. So they had more people than they even presumed. About 60% of these folks were from North America. The other 40% were Asia Pacific and Europe. So you'll see here, everybody flew. There was basically one person from Dubai, I think, possibly. It's really cool how we can break down, all the different various, this is the this is the one person that's from Dubai down here. Anyway, so to get into this, we actually did an integration for this. So this was connected through Swoogo, and it worked out really well. Again, we did this at a $10 per metric ton price point, which is pretty low. This is where things get really interesting. We can use first name, last name, we can use email, we can use city, we can use country, we can also use zip code. But basically what we did here was everyone did a ride share to airplane to bus, because that was essentially what the event host wanted to assume. And ultimately, we calculated the emissions of every single person. We use this great custom tag. So you can actually say, this is a VIP client, this is a staff member, this is whomever. So you can subcategorize these. And what's really cool about this is that we can actually pull these drag and drop to pull and export data to Excel around even seeing like, oh, we have a ton of people that are coming from XYZ city. So if we want to do that kind of data aggregation, I suggest using your city and state as your data identifier versus using your zip code, because zip codes are harder to actually tell where people are from. But so this is really cool because that's obviously an amazing way to be able to get some more data informed futures. So this same group gets invited to this event all over the place. And I'm going to show you another great example of that event happening. Or basically what I did was I plotted this same group of people, the exact same data set of attendees that we had utilized in this attendee roster. And I calculated that to going to New York. So this is to have the event in New York City, in Manhattan. And you'll see that the metric tons of carbon, which if you recall, were 412 metric tons. So that was averaging 2 metric tons per person. So again, me going Chicago to San Diego is 1 metric ton. This is now averaging 1 metric ton per person versus 2. So having this same group, same event in New York would have been 50% less emissions. So the other cool things that you can do is basically you can run reports, you can pick, date ranges, you can pick, you can do this for, all of your events, a portion of your events, you could do your events for the entire year, see what your emissions were in total. So there's a lot of great options here. Would love to speak with you more about this, this tool and how it can integrate and help you out in your group travel calculations. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. You can see more at purposenetzero.com. You can reach me at marley@purposenetzero.com. It's Marley like Bob. And I look forward to talking with you.